Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have another Madden 24 roster update. Now, of course, I am recording this just about midnight, right before I go to bed, so let's go ahead and get some things underway. First and foremost, this is a PS5 exclusive roster, so the roster is only available on PS5, and of course, there also are some things that we needed to go over. Of course, if you didn't watch the last two videos, I'm going to make it a little bit shorter this time, and I'm going to give you just a quick little rundown. So, first and foremost, I cannot change certain things about this roster. It just is what EA allows me to do. I cannot change age, I cannot change dev traits, and I cannot change contract money / years to the exact extent that I want. I cannot get contract money anywhere near what it allows me to. It's just part of what EA does. You cannot change contracts in the edit roster section. I think it's to prevent the game from lasting for too long and people that only want to play franchise being forced to buy the new game each and every year. So I think that does suck. It does. Of course, I'd be willing to put in the work. If you guys have looked at any of my 2K rosters, I put in the work all the time over there. And for a game that I like even more, and a sport that I love even more and enjoy, I would be willing to put in the work for the roster, but EA does not allow me to do so I can't. This is, like I said, a PS5 exclusive roster, and so let's get into things, and I'll show you guys some of the stuff that has happened. You know, maybe if you've missed some of these signings or whatever, you can now see, of course. There is a couple other things I do want to go over, but first let's go ahead and hop in and grab the file. First, you guys are going to head over to the Creation Center. Should pull up this screen right here, maybe if the game decides to load. It'll have Creation Center in the background behind Derrick Henry. Go to Share and Manage Files. Go to Download Community Files. You guys can search by date. One thing I forgot to show you, especially last time, was that you can search up my online ID and find the roster even faster. So go ahead, push search, hit online ID, and do GreenMachineSam. Now, of course, I'm going to upload the rest of this roster literally as we're done speaking. I'm just trying to get this video ready for tomorrow. So GreenMachineSam should have bigger capitalization down below to show you guys exactly how the roster name looks. And here it is, right? So they are both the same roster. Madden 24 and Madden 25 roster update are the same exact ones. The description's a little different for each one, just depending. I like to see whether or not the description for the roster changes how many downloads it has. Now, of course, Madden 25 has a bigger opportunity with more downloads and stuff for people to download it. People are going to look towards that one and go, oh, hey, it has 12,000 downloads. Something must be going right. Once you download it, it's going to ask you whether or not you want to overwrite the file or save it as a new. You can do either or. Saving it as a new file lets you keep the old Madden 24 roster update or Madden 25 roster update. If you don't want the old roster, just overwrite it. It's simple, it's easy, it's quick. Next thing, you have to load the roster. Whether or not you go into Play Now game, you go to start a new franchise, or you want to look even at the roster in general in the edit roster section, you have to load the roster. It's something you have to do. Some people get confused by this. You have to load it. If you don't load it, you do not get the roster. You're going to be staring at the same old boring roster that's been there for the last month and a half. Okay? So, as you guys can see, Kevin Byard's here. DeAndre Swift is here. Gerald Everett's here. You have guys like Jonathan Owens and Simone Biles here. I'm just kidding. Calm your tits. Ryan Bates is here from the trade with the Bills. There's not a whole ton of other things going on, but as you guys can see, I also released a bunch of people. I'm still working on releasing people, whether it's somebody I overlooked or because of positional requirements, and that's the next thing I want to go over. In Madden, in the edit roster section, there's positional requirements for you to keep on the roster. I don't know why EA does this. I don't know if they don't want us, glitching their franchises out. I don't know. Maybe their game just can't support it, right? But in every single position, you have positional requirements. So at quarterback, you carry 2. Running back, I think you have to carry 3. Fullback, if you have one on your team, you cannot release it, but you don't have to carry a fullback if that team is not already carrying a fullback. You have to have 4 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 offensive linemen at every single position, 2 defensive ends on both sides, 3 D tackles, 2 backers at each position, and then 4 corners and 2 safeties at each position, and a kicker and a punter. Now, the only difference is, if you have 3 left tackles, you can technically carry 1 right tackle. If you have 3 left guards, you can technically carry 1 right guard, and vice versa. Just same thing with edges, and same thing with the outside backers. It's just something EA does. You have to, so basically, offensive line, you have to carry 4 at each of the positions, and then, 4 tackles, 4 guards, 4 edges, and, 4 ends, and 4 outside backers. So there is some leeway, but you still have to carry 4 at that position no matter what. So that is the major thing. Secondly, sign free agents. You have Justin Simmons, Tre'Davious White, David Bakhtiari, Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore, Trent Brown, Micah Hyde, Xavier Howard, Young, Clowney, Ridley, Adams, Nelson, Campbell, Diggs, Armstead, Curl, Williams, Jackson, May, Kendricks, Baker, Peterson, Jackson, Peters, White, Samuel, and so on and so forth. You can go through the free agents yourself and see who's all available. Now, of course, one thing that somebody has asked me in the past is, am I going to change overalls by myself? No, I don't. I don't change overalls for any real player that is already in Madden. I will be doing the draft overalls myself. I'm choosing how to do those myself. That's just something I've always done. I try to make it unbiased and fair as possible so that I'm not making Green Bay Packer draft selections a 60 and I'm not making Chicago Bears draft picks a 90. I want to make it fair and easy as possible, so you guys will see and hear more about that down the road. I'll probably have all the information settled and ready to go probably a week before the draft, and I'll post a video about that, about what the roster is going to look like after that time. But for now, we're focusing on free agency, and it is a pretty good roster. Now, of course, if I miss somebody, let me know. And I'm not going to go over every single person here today. And like I said, some people like Jake Browning, who I expect to be back with Bengals, just because I don't think there's going to be too many suitors out there for him. And I feel like he'll probably go back to a system that he knows and can trust, and the coaching staff probably likes him. So some guys like that who are supposed to be free agents, but there's not really a backup and because of positional requirement and whether or not I think they're going to resign at that current spot will determine whether or not I release them. So like Jake Browning's case, he's staying with the Bengals for now. Zach Moss signs with Bengals. Micah Gesicki and Drew Sample are back. I don't think they really went out and got anybody else. I know they don't have a ton of money. I know DJ Reader is technically a free agent, but I've heard a lot of things about how he's probably going to end up staying. Geno Stone is here. Bills, they didn't go out and get much. They did re-sign Taylor Rapp, so you will see that contract. They did end up going out and getting Mitch Trubisky, bringing him back. Apparently they like him as a backup. I don't know. Maybe Josh Allen likes having fun with Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know. They also re-signed Deion Dawkins to a big deal. They moved Connor McGovern to center, and then David Edwards to starting guard. That is something they came out and said that those are their plans going into next year, of course. The Broncos signed Malcolm Roach. They also went out and got Brandon Jones. They also re-signed PJ Locke to a 2-year deal. So there is that. The Browns lost a couple people, but they did gain a couple in different positions as well. Jordan Hicks is now a Brown. Shelby Harris returns, of course. They did end up re-signing Zadarius Smith, as well as a couple of their backup O-linemen as well. They did go out and get Jerry Jeudy as well, and then they brought in Nyheim Hines. I'm going to leave him at that number for now just because I don't think he deserves a single-digit number until proven otherwise. They did go out and get Jameis Winston, and so on and so forth. You can go through the roster and look. I'll just scroll through the quarterbacks for you guys to see what's going on. Marcus Mariota with the Commanders. Commanders went out and got a lot of people. They got a lot of Cowboys as well. And they went out and got Cleveland Ferrell, Dorrance Armstrong, and Dante Fowler. And then they brought in Marcus Mariota as well. They also brought in Jeremy Chin. And then they also brought in Frankie Louvu. So they went out and made some major impacts on that defensive side of the ball. Really trying to fix that defense. Which makes sense because Dan Quinn is a defensive guy. Kirk Cousins here with Atlanta. Like I said, now here's one thing I will say about jersey numbers and why some players did get their jersey number that I think they should have is two major factors. One is that jersey number available? 2 is, would that player pay for that jersey number? And 3, who has the jersey number already on the team? If it's a practice squad guy or even a cut candidate is what I call them, guys that are near the bottom of the 53-man roster, special teamers, stuff like that. I'm going to steal that jersey number from them. Just because it just makes sense. We can always swap him back and stuff like that. But for Kirk Cousins' case, he could have number 8, but Kyle Pitts has number 8. He's a star player. I think he's going to keep it unless Kirk Cousins come in and offers him a boatload of money. But there's been reports that Kirk Cousins is kind of diligent, not really willing to spend money on stuff. There was a report from forever ago that he still had the van that he had when he was a Washington Redskin at one point. This was years ago. I think this was like right around the time he joined the Vikings, that he still had the same van that he was driving when he first got drafted. So players like him not going to get the jersey number, as well as there's a star player already on the team wearing said jersey number. But a guy like, let's say, Sam Darnold, who I'm giving 14 to, he's going to get his jersey number because Ryan Wright is a punter, not making a whole ton of money, right? You can go in here and even look. He's only making $900K next year. You don't think if Sam Darnold comes to him and offers him $50K that he won't take that to get a different jersey number? I guarantee he will. The Vikings also signed a couple of people, Jonathan Gennard, Van Ginkel, Cashman. And another thing I do want to state that I didn't say in the last video, every single player that I move in positions, whether it's because I need to fill a hole and get positional requirements to the right spot so I can release somebody, or it's based off a team scheme as well of Madden 23. Okay, if a new defensive coordinator comes in, like Dan Campbell, and comes into Washington, I know he's probably going to be running a 4-3. I think that's what they ran last year. Let's say Dan Campbell came in and decided to run a 3-4. I don't have the ability to go into a franchise mode and change that team's schemes, so we're going to judge it based off of what their schemes were in Madden 23. So even if the Vikings decided, hey, we're going to switch to a 4-3 this year, I think that's more suitable for us. They're going to be listed in Madden 23 as a 3-4, so their edges are still going to be playing outside backer. It's just so that when you go into a franchise in Madden 23 and play with the updated rosters, a team isn't putting up bad stats or great stats because you have a mismanaged roster, because you have a 4-3 playing as a 3-4 or 3-4 playing as a 4-3, and so on and so forth. Just like Danico Autry, as much as he doesn't play that traditional 3-4 he plays a much more traditional 3-4 defensive tackle, he's going to be sliding into a 3-tech DT and a 4-3. And then Danielle Hunter, as much as he played outside backer last year for the Minnesota Vikings, he's sliding down to more of a traditional 4-3, and so on and so forth. And like I said, there's plenty of to look at Russell Wilson on the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as they traded away Deontay Johnson for Dante Jackson. I did move Dan Moore and some of these offensive linemen around just for the sake of positional requirements for now. Like I said, there's a couple people here and there that can't be released because of positional requirements and stuff like that. Patrick Queen here, Dante Jackson, so on and so forth. Now, of course, some teams have done more moves than others as well, so there is those factors to look into. And then a team like the Panthers, who brought in Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt and still have Austin Corbett, at least I haven't seen anything that said he got released or is anything like that. We decided to move Brady Christensen over to center. I know he's 6'6", but Liam Eichenberg of the Miami Dolphins also did the same thing. He went all the way from playing left and right tackle, being a swing tackle for the Dolphins, into guard, into center this previous year. So I'm just moving Brady Christensen there for now. I'd assume they'll address that here shortly. Whether it's Austin Corbett or whether it's Damian Lewis, one of them will probably be moving into center. And there's Deontay Johnson as well. The Packers ended up making a couple moves as well. They ended up getting Josh Jacobs. I haven't done anything with A.J. Dillon because of positional requirements at the moment. He doesn't really fit with Josh Jacobs, so I will try to get rid of him as soon as possible. If or whenever the Packers do make another signing at running back. And so many other positions. They brought back Keyshawn Nixon. They brought back Corey Ballantyne. All this fun stuff. They brought in Xavier McKinney. There's a ton of stuff to go over in this roster that I don't really have the time to go in and show you guys and be like, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. If you guys want to see more of an in-depth breakdown of what I've done, I'll go ahead and probably make a video about that sooner rather than later. This video is already reaching about the 14-minute mark as of now. So if you guys want to check out the roster, go check it out for yourselves. I understand if you don't have PS5, this is kind of difficult for you. No, I do not make an Xbox roster, and no, I do not make a PC roster. The Madden roster already takes enough time. I don't have an Xbox anyway, and then my PC, I play Madden on from time to time, but I normally am trying to mod it, and the modding community seems to do a pretty good job at keeping up to date with the roster from what I can tell anyway so far. I've only put in about 5 hours into the actual game itself. Like I said, if you guys enjoy this content, please stick around and subscribe. I'll be back with more videos like this. I'll have more information regarding the draft and some of the other periods of the off-season later when we get to those points in the off-season. Like I said, if you guys enjoyed this video, please stick around and subscribe. I appreciate the support you guys have shown on both these videos and on everything else that you guys have had, whether it's the rosters, the videos, the posts, whatever. Go check out my Twitter too. I'm going to be trying to post a little bit more there, and then hopefully going to get my Twitch streaming up and running here within the next month or so. But with that being said, guys, I'm out. Peace.